And now for what many people hailed as the game of the week. A game I wasn't able to watch because I was watching my team beat down Tampa Bay. San Diego taking on Chicago. As it turns out, it wasn't all that exciting of a game unless you like defense, and I do. But 14-3, I can live without it. Okay, this here is an interesting game. Rivers struggled. He couldn't get over 200 yards. In fact, LT with one passing play, with rather one passing attempt, did more to help his team win than Rivers did the entire game. And strangely enough, LaDainian and Michael Turner, the backup running back in San Diego, did more to help his team running the ball than LT did all game. I mean, Turner had more yards on less carries. Really uncharacteristic for LT. He had all of 25 rushing yards in this game. And that's not something you're going to see from him very often. Trust me. Still a special player. But props to Chicago for shutting him down for all it ended up meaning. And, big game by Antonio Gates. 9 catches, 107 yards, and a touchdown. LT making up for his lack of production in the running game by catching the ball. Vincent Jackson and Craig Davis getting involved a little bit. I think they need to do a little more. I think these guys could be a really nice wide receiver tandem in the future, but gotta see a little more out of them than that. And hey, defensively, they generated pretty good pressure on Rex Grossman. Forced that one turnover. Actually, they forced the one interception because of pressure, and they were forcing fumbles left and right. And part of that is on Chicago not knowing how to secure the ball. But the other part of that is good plays by the defense. So, but I am thinking, you San Diego fans, if any of you are out there, what did you think about this game? Because I didn't get a chance to watch this game, but all until like near the end of the third quarter, I was watching with San Diego having 0 points and was thinking, I wonder if you're starting to miss Marty Schottenheimer. I don't believe he would have let what happened today happen. I mean, your offense was just completely dead until LT took that pitch and threw it over the top to Antonio Gates, who was essentially wide open. And that play seems like a gimme touchdown almost every time you run it. So I don't know. I just wasn't impressed with Norv's opening game. I mean, this is the guy who turned Troy Aikman and Michael Irvin and eventually Emmitt Smith into Hall of Famers. And I don't know if I'm buying. I know it was a great defense you were going up against. I'm wondering if you miss Marty Schottenheimer. But I'll tell you who you are definitely lucky to not be missing. And I'll expand on this in a moment. But as many of you know, Michael Turner was almost traded this offseason. I mean, obviously, when you have LT, you're thinking, if you have a good backup running back, you should trade him and try and beef up somewhere else on your team, right? Well, San Diego decided to keep this guy around for one more year, and next year definitely lose him in free agency and get nothing back. Well, I'll tell you what. Today, LT looked human, and he is getting old. I mean, I don't want to slight the Bears' defense or say that he is now a bum or anything stupid like that, because he is an elite running back. But suddenly, San Diego's looking really smart for keeping Michael Turner, because he came on later in the game, was a lot more productive than LT was. 41 yards on 10 carries. So, really nice job keeping Mike Turner. I think he's going to contribute quite a bit down the stretch on the San Diego playoff run, because he is a special player. As for the Bears, good job shutting down the San Diego offense, but too bad it doesn't count for a damn thing. I mean, that was a pretty pathetic offensive showing. Less than 150 yards passing. No running game to speak of. Benson, what's up? Which brings me to the second half of my story from before. The Bears were put in the same situation as San Diego was last offseason. They had two running backs that they felt were starting caliber. They both had rosters that felt that they could make it to the Super Bowl this year, and both were thinking they could use one of their running backs for trade bait to beef up somewhere else on their team. It makes sense, right? You'll want to trade one of them. Chicago did. They traded away Thomas Jones for surprisingly little, like some late second round pick, I believe the ended up being, while San Diego didn't make that trade. Now here we are, opening day. San Diego benefits from keeping Michael Turner. Meanwhile, Chicago suffers from not keeping Thomas Jones. And I know Thomas Jones struggled today, but Benson struggled more. 19 attempts, 42 yards, and a fumble that ended up being costly. They ended up benching him and going to Adrian Peterson, who played better, but he had a fumble of his own and didn't exactly, wasn't no superstar out there either. So I'm thinking maybe you should have held on to Thomas Jones. And I'm not saying Cedric Benson sucks or anything, or he's never going to be anything this year, but are you missing him, you think? I don't know. But now suddenly, if Cedric Benson really can't handle the full load, or gets hurt, or keeps fumbling, or whatever, now you're going to have to turn to Adrian Peterson and Garrett Wolfe. And that's not going to be fun, trust me. Bernard Berrien, looking sharp. Maybe he's the next big thing at wide receiver after all. People have accused him of being nothing more than a deep threat, but I don't think that's true. I think he can be a short and medium guy as well, and he's got great downfield speed, but I think he can be a good all-around player. Let's see what else is there to say. And once again, Chicago defense, you shut down San Diego almost the entire game. You got good pressure on Rivers. Tommy Harris had that insane forced fumble or whatever it was where he jumped over the line. That was a hell of a play. But you could not hold up long enough. That's all on the offense to me. I blame the offense completely for this loss. I felt the defense played amazingly, all things considered. But perhaps a bigger loss than this game, and I do believe it was a big loss. They had a chance to win this game and make a statement, was the injury to Mike Brown, and it sounds like he's going to have to retire. Now, I think this player is overrated, Mike Brown. I've always felt this, and I don't understand why people think he's an all-pro, especially now. But he was a leader on that defense, and he was important in terms of his impact on the run defense. Compare the run defense's stats to when he was playing to when he wasn't playing, and, well, it's right there in front of you. That's the story. And they are going to miss him. You can't replace him. You don't have Chris Harris now, so what are you going to do at the other safety spot? Adam Archuleta? Are you going to move Devin Hester back there? They'll mix and match and figure out what to do, but you saw Mike Brown crying in the post-game conference because he thinks he's going to have to retire because of this injury. Real sad to see a player break down like that. And the other side of that is the Bears are really going to miss him from a football perspective, because last year, after they lost Mike Brown, things went south in terms of run defense. I think they'll be all right. They still have a good defense that has plenty of stars all over, but rough loss in the first game of the season.